Did he give any reason, or was it just sort of?
I'm not sure the reason why, but I don't delve into other people's personal reasons and stuff.
Yeah.
My style.
Yeah, no, I was wondering if he, made a statement that he was retiring, or he just sort of decided not to pursue it anymore, or what. That's all. Very interesting. Okay, so that's sort of how it led up to you sort of carrying on this tradition, and you make a good, interesting point here that Casing sort of laid out sort of the idea, and Renee sort of filled in a lot of the details, if you will. Is that kind of how it shook out over the years?
Yeah, pretty much. Basically, Casing, he was the guy who blew the whistle on the Apollo simulation project. Renee came along and backed up most of what he said with technical data and scientific research and stuff like that. And then I came along and basically helped, get their work out and pick up on a lot more of the current stuff. Because, like, if you understand, like, they wrote their books. The first one was written in the 70s. Renee's book was written in the 90s. Of course, it received a few updates here and there, as the years went by. But my series it gets all their information out to the next generation and picks up on all the new information of this generation right now. Like there's a whole lot of new stuff that's been popping up lately and stuff. Like the Smart 1 crashing into the moon and finding out that the minerals, the actual rocks that are actually up there on the moon are different to the ones that we have, from the Apollo missions. Like if you go to the moon, pick up a moon rock, and then you send a probe to crash there and pick up moon dust for you to analyze, you'd expect to get the same results, yet the stuff that's actually up there is different.
So that's sort of like a new development in moon hoax research.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of new developments coming up, and there's a whole lot of new stuff that I've been meaning to discuss, but regrettably I've been a little sidetracked lately, what with with propagandists constantly, releasing all this bullshit on the internet and stuff. So, okay, this is back in 2008, I just released my radioactive anomaly film, and I was working on Moonfaker Exhibit D, which was a film about the moon rocks and laser reflectors and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And Renee, he passed away. He committed suicide.
He committed suicide?
Yeah. See, as you might already be aware, Renee, he was he worked for many years hard labor, like as a construction worker and stuff like that. And he basically did both his knees in and stuff with arthritis. And you know how badly the Medicare is in the United States. He couldn't get health coverage. He couldn't get the operations. They subjected him to pre-operation stress tests that an Olympic athlete with a strained walker couldn't pass, let alone a man on a walker. And that's the way he had been for the rest of his life. And so, what made matters worse is in December he was in this car accident with his girlfriend, and the crash, it worsened his regular hip pain to the point it became an insomniac.
My goodness.
And so. I know, and so it was very, very tragic, very tragic. He could just not able to take the pain anymore. He 2 days after the accident, he asked his girlfriend to go home early. He had prepared a bunch of goodbye cards, to send out to his friends and stuff, and basically he left his will there for his neighbor to find, and he put a shotgun in his mouth.
My God.
Yeah, and so. Obviously, I was devastated when I heard that news. I was the one who actually announced his death publicly, and it was very, very, very upsetting for me.
Wow.
But what came upsetting even more was when propagandists they began releasing videos basically celebrating his death. Putting words in his mouth and stuff like that, alleging that he thought dinosaurs coexisted with humans and such bullshit like that. Basically. It's bad enough that you attack some guy who's dead and no longer able to defend themselves. It's but they're just treating it like it's a celebration and stuff.
Yeah, that's disgusting. No matter if you disagree with the guy, that's one thing. But well, as I said, this is a very vitriolic debate. I mean, it is.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't see this with Bigfoot or even with UFOs anymore. I mean, you just don't. Or maybe with the 9/11 thing, but even then, it's not as just vicious on both sides of the equation. It's runs very deep, and you wonder why that is. I mean, do you have an opinion on why people are so passionate one way or the other about this moon hoax or the moon landing, concept?
Oh, well, as you probably might be aware, there are a lot of Americans. They consider the alleged first landing on the moon as a source of national pride. Like, oh, look at it, this is our greatest achievement. It's always ever going to be the biggest thing we've ever done. You know, it's never going to be topped by anyone and stuff. But you know, some people might be hurt by the fact that, okay, this didn't really happen. It was just a propaganda hoax, you know. And so some people might be very vigilant. You know, some people, they just don't want to believe It's like a kid when they just find out that Santa Claus doesn't exist, you know. When they initially they want to deny it, they don't want to believe it or anything like that. But you know, when the facts get, you know, too overwhelming for them to deal with, you know, it just becomes clear that this is all hoax, you know. And so what they've been praising all their life is a lie. And of course, you know, some people they just come to accept that. But then you've got others who know that they're lying, and they just continuously tell bullshit to protect that lie. The guy, Phil Plait, for example, he runs the Bad Astronomy website. He constantly put words in Bill Casey's mouth, like alleging that he believed all space travel in general was impossible. And Bill Casey made no such statements. And in fact, in the very same interview that Plait often referred to, okay, Casey explicitly said that possibly the unmanned surveyor did land on the moon. That counts as space travel, doesn't it?
That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah, exactly. So Plait, he's just lying there. And in fact, I actually went to TAM8 just last year, you know, the amazing meeting, this James Randi convention thing where Plait was appearing. You know, basically tried to, I went there to question Plait about a few things. One of them was the fact that he has constantly put words in Bill Casey's mouth. And basically, I encounter him. He tells me to go schedule an interview and stuff. You know, there's like they got some press guys organizing interviews and stuff. I go walking around the place for about an hour or so. I can't find anyone. I can't find the press agent. I meet him again just during the break to question him about Operation Dirty Trick, which was an idea to blame Cuba for the death of John Glenn if he died in space. And yet he claims the idea that NASA murdered the Apollo 1 crew is a loathsome accusation. And well, how do you explain Operation Dirty Trick then? I showed him the document. At first he claimed he didn't know about it, when I've been sending him emails about it that he constantly ignored. He says, oh, I say, you have any comment on this? And he says, nope, never heard of it. And I say, you never heard of it? I sent you emails about this. And he says, I tend not to comment on it because the evidence that we went to the moon is overwhelming. Now he admits that he's seen it, right? But you know, the question was about whether or not the government was willing to let John Glenn die. I didn't even mention the moon when I showed him the document. You know, I was just, you know, showing him the evidence that NASA and the government was willing to let one of their astronauts die. But anyways, he tells me again to go schedule an interview with someone. Okay, go find the press agent, and you know, so I went back to reception again. Right, this time it was only luck that the press agent was in the other room. You know, he managed to schedule a 15-minute one-on-one interview with Plait. And so, I was going to interview him after the speech he was going to give. And in the meantime, Adam Savage was also giving a speech. You know, Adam Savage from the Mythbusters.
Yeah. Go ahead, but let me jump in here and give you props before we get into the Mythbusters part, because, I mean, first of all, I think almost you're underselling it a little bit here, because you flew all the way from Australia to Las Vegas to confront these guys about the propaganda, as you call it, you know, alleging that the moon landing was correct. So, I mean, kudos to you for having the balls and the wherewithal and the drive, I guess you could say, to fly all the way across the planet in the name of this theory. Don't sell yourself short there. And you really took it to the Mythbusters guys there. So talk about that. Sorry to interrupt you, but I wanted to give you praise here for you know, a lot of people, it's easy to sit around and do things and not actually do the heavy lifting. But as I said, you're flying all the way across the planet to take this issue right to the folks who are alleging that the moon landing happened. So what happened when you confronted this Savage character from Mythbusters?
Well, first of all, I would like to say that I didn't go there primarily for you know, encountering the propagandist. I also went there to pay my respects to Bill Casey. You know, his ashes were scattered in Santa Barbara, and you know, I went there to you know, to pay my respects there, you know, with his daughter and stuff. Okay. But anyways, when I went to TAM8, basically, okay, Savage, he was giving his speech, you know, and when it was done, there was this Q&A session, and basically he says, now if anyone has any things that I screwed up on the show that they want to talk about, just raise your hand. I'll say he didn't ask for it. So basically, I raised my hand and I pointed out that his moon hoax show was built on botched experiments, like when they were doing the wire jumping, the slow motion stuff. The conspiracy theory is that the slow motion, the low gravity footage on the moon, in the moonwalk videos and stuff, that was done by suspending the astronauts via wires, wandering around on this moon set, and then they slowed that footage of them on wires down to 67%, right? And originally we thought it was 50%, but it turned out to be 67%. Okay, everyone makes mistakes every now and then, but I want that we correct them and stuff. Yeah. Anyways, that's the idea is that they were filmed on wires, and the footage of them on wires was slowed down, right? But they shot the two methods of fakery separately. First of all, they shot Adam Savage running around without a wire in slow motion, right? And then they shot him at full speed, suspended by a wire, jumping up and down. So obviously they're not going to get the results that match up with the Apollo footage. And the ironic thing is that if you actually take the footage of him on the wire and slow it down and then play it alongside the original Apollo 16 footage, you get a near perfect synchronization.
Exactly.
I raised that point to him, right? And he was like, I hadn't thought of that. Look, what we do isn't science. We're just an entertainment show. We're just an entertainment show. We shouldn't be considered the definitive de facto place for the scientific analysis of the moon landings. That's a pretty big shocker, considering that how they constantly gloated how everything was busted.
Yeah, Well, skeptics across the board have a very pernicious way about them, a very smarmy sort of superiority complex that I find to be very off-putting.
Yeah. And when it was done, obviously, after that Q&A session, everybody was like, everyone at the conference was talking about it, texting people about it, and putting up blogs about it and stuff. Did he fly all the way from Australia just to say that? Or why did this guy come here? Like, they just weren't expecting me to come there. Now, I was expecting people to be hostile, but then there was actually people who actually came down and congratulated me, saying, "Hey, man, you flew all the way from Australia, just to come out and point out, say that to these guys and stuff." And so basically they gave me kudos for that, so that was a bit of a surprise. But Phil Plait, after the Q&A session, even though an interview was scheduled, right, he refused. He refused to say that I wouldn't believe anything he'd say, so I'm not going to do an interview with you.
So he wasn't even willing to have a dialogue with you about all this.
No. It's kind of ironic because he will go on a national radio show with Joe Rogan, debating the Apollo missions, yet he won't do any one-on-one interview with me over, claiming that I wouldn't believe anything he'd say. Which is kind of ironic because, there is one thing I do agree with him on. He says, if you were standing on the moon, you would indeed see the stars, even during the day. And yet Neil Armstrong comes back and he says, I couldn't see the stars from the lunar surface during the daytime and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does he not acknowledge that whole thing? Does he just not even say anything about the Neil Armstrong part?
He just gives you the silent treatment. Whenever you press Phil Plait, it just gives you the silent treatment. That's the way it goes. Yeah, so as I was saying earlier, when Ray committed suicide and stuff, there was a whole lot of new material that was popping up out of the woodwork, like the LRO photos, the Dutch moon rock, the fact that the Dutch moon rock turned out to be petrified wood, that one, the missing moonwalk videos turned out to be erased, wiped over, taped over and stuff. This was all this new stuff that I had planned on addressing and stuff. But of course, first I had to fly over to New Jersey, to attend Renee's funeral and stuff. He requested that his ashes be scattered. But during my absence, the incident has turned into Attack of the Trolls, which left me with more propagandist rubbish to clear up afterwards and stuff that just pushed my coverage of the current affairs even further back. But I'm proud to say that I've made it through the storm, and I've got a new series coming up. I've got a new website coming up. It's going to be quite a show, I can promise you that.
Well, good, because I want to see more from you. I think you're doing fantastic work, even though I'm still on the fence about the moon hoax theory. I'm of the opinion. I'll give you sort of my take on this, and you can feel free to talk to me about it, I guess you could say. Well, I'm not interested in sort of like rehashing the whole moon hoax debate, because everybody's sort of heard both sides of the arguments, I think, or at least people in the paranormal community have, and they've made up their mind one way or the other, or they're on the fence about it. But